And I am your host, Lisa Haven, and this is
Justice Night.
And we've got so much to talk about with you guys on the broadcast. Okay, so back to the midterm election. So what's going on with that? What do you think? Because I know there's a lot on play. You know, we're getting closer to November here. So many things.
Yep.
It's like a time bomb, and you see all this cracking down of censorship going on. You see, not Debbie Wasserman. Who is it?
Which one?
Waters.
Oh,
Maxine Waters.
Yes. How could we forget?
Brain fart. Yeah,
I'm
like
sorry,
that never
because
happened.
it's Sunday. I was trying to have a peaceful day, and I'd get that image out of my mind. Yes. Oh, that's horrible. It's just been so tough.
Yeah, Maxine Waters, what'd she say? If you see anybody in the Trump cabinet or any of his administration, you kick them out of restaurants, and you kick them out of bars, and you tell them you don't want their stinking service. That's the kind of stuff that they're playing on the Democratic side, and it's completely wrong on so many levels. But when they're calling almost for uprisings, for their people uprising, what happened as a result? We had who? The press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, kicked out of Red Hen. I mean, why? Because, well, Maxine Waters said we should kick people out of restaurants. We have a guy who wore a MAGA hat, the Make America Great Again hat, kicked out of a bar because he was a Trump supporter. And I did multiple reports on this, Googling other things, saying how people are starting to get kicked out of restaurants. But then we have to force a couple to bake a gay cake, and that's okay, but you can refuse service just for your political beliefs, for being a Trump supporter. This is the insane level that we've gotten. And of course, the midterm elections have a lot to do that. So everything is on edge. But we're almost at that breaking point where we have one side unwilling to accept the election results, almost to the point where they're pushing violently.
Yeah, and although they do, and the tricky part of that argument is a restaurant does have the right to refuse service to anybody, but it has to go both ways, and it has to be equal, and that's always what we declare here. And there's just so much happening at this point in time that it's virtually impossible to keep up with. And my concern's bigger, your concern's bigger, is we have the midterm elections coming up, which could shape the face of the next election. And this is where we got to keep our eye out, because the midterm elections, in my opinion, are going to be a proving ground, because you see now the rhetoric is ratcheting up, the messaging is ratcheting up. A lot of what you cover is what I would consider redundancy, because what they're yelling at Mr. Trump for now, President Trump for now, is done well before him. We've discussed this before, correct?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Think of, for example, all of the immigration problems, right? We saw, I brought this up a few times, but people protesting from, look at the bad policies that President Trump is doing, and I want to shake them out of their funk, because let's be real, these were passed. This was happening way before Trump. This happened under Obama. This happened under Clinton. And Obama made it worse. Signed it a law under Clinton. Obama made it worse when he converted and lied to the American public. He said, we're going to take these Walmarts across America, empty out the Walmarts, basically take them over, black out the windows, and put inside facilities for children. We have a few in Texas, and Brownsville, I think, is one, and a few other areas. But you can actually go to these Walmarts, and guess what? You'll get kicked out. And when Obama told us, he said they were having plumbing issues. That's what all the American people were told. But no, channels like mine said, no, they're detention facilities, they're FEMA camps, some kind of detaining facility. Lo and behold, we were right yet again. And now it's like they've waited for a president they did not like to pin their own crimes on our president. So they're taking crimes prior and pinning them on the president of the United States now.
Yep, and this is where, I mean, we have a huge event happening. Just going back to, and I don't mean to be so redundant, but you have to take the midterm elections. You have to take Facebook and Apple and Google and Microsoft and Twitter. And you had all these companies actually just recently go to Facebook headquarters. They all show up and they're voicing, oh, I'm concerned about midterm elections. So they call in the department, they call in the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. And they all sit at a table in Facebook. Microsoft get up there, right? And they're getting, here's what our concerns are, and here's what we're seeing. And Apple does the same thing, Twitter does the same thing. And guess what the FBI and Department of Homeland Security do? Nothing. They sat there stone-faced, quiet, Well, why would they? Well, basically, I would too at this point in time. You got to remember, and not a lot of people realize this, Google and Facebook are still under lawsuits. One particular, State of Washington versus Facebook. And I'm going to read this very quickly just so you're all aware. The State of Washington brings this action to enforce the state's campaign finance and disclosure law. This is going to campaign financing laws. Defendant Facebook, an online social media corporation, failed to maintain and make available for public inspection documents and books of account specifying statutorily required information concerning political advertising sponsored through Facebook's online platform.
So what does that mean in a nutshell?
That means that no matter how much Mark Zuckerberg sits on Capitol Hill and pretends that he actually cares, he so far has proven that he doesn't, because he's still accepting money. He's not going to give you information unless absolutely forced to. And even if anybody knew that the information was there, nobody but him knows how to find it. That's the scary part about these tech giants. And they're terrifying in the fact that they know if you control all the data and you control how it's coming in, and I control the platforms, and I just gave away 84 million profiles. But at the end of the day, how do I stop that from happening? Is President Trump going to know where that technology is? Nobody does except Facebook.
No, that's why he's a scary giant, and you know what he's doing isn't legit. And let's recall,
yes,
a couple of years ago when he had a conversation with a friend, and he said, you know, all the people that give me their data, and I can't say it as a Christian woman on air, but they are dumb F words, dumb F words.
Yeah, they are. It's horrible.
I mean, what kind of person? That's like somebody coming out saying all my fans or all my supporters are dumb and the F word. It's not a good thing. It's sick and it's disturbing, and that alone should have led to a mass exodus.
It should have, but nobody does, because again, nobody understands how these things work. And again, we're not defending. It's so hard of a line, because I can't blame people for not understanding. We can sit here for hours, and we spend our nights and weekends, and sometimes at our own expense. But to just get a basic understanding, because even if I understand it today, the technology is probably already 10 years past what they're actually declaring, and that's where the really scary part gets in. But I do want to give hats off to Twitter. Twitter, out of all of them, is actually doing a really good job. Twitter is verifying candidate profiles before they're posting them. So you'll see on the Twitter, you'll see underneath that this is a verified candidate, and they're doing that to fight off the Russian trolls.
Russian trolls. Well, at least it's good. That's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Hey, if you're going to have a political candidate, at least have a verified page. That's a good start. I think I see nothing wrong with that. That's actually a good move. So, I mean, I don't even know other moves in that direction, but there's so many bad things. If I didn't get put in Facebook jail all the time, maybe I wouldn't have an issue. I'm sure many of you have.
And it's hard because
listening out there. Because
as a Christian, as a Christian reporter, I actually watch myself, and I've tried to, especially recently, and you've witnessed this. I'm trying to take a little bit more of a different approach. I'm trying to teach people what's happening. I'm trying to teach through education and understanding of how to fight back, or at least inform these companies that we all utilize. Nobody's going to, unfortunately, mass exodus Facebook. It has shown no signs of any mass exodus at all. Let's be very clear.
No.
Google and YouTube.
But it's hard because that's where a lot of people communicate and talk. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong in and of itself for you guys out there. Obviously, I have to have one. That's my job, what I do. But I also face a ton of censorship on a daily basis. When you've been doing it for that long, it happens. It's unfortunate. It's not something I like. But at the same time, I just encourage you, keep some things private. Make sure, if you can get off of it, get off of it. If you can't, you can't. But make sure you're a little more private about the information that you're sharing.
And I want everybody to not be afraid to be knowledgeable. These topics are not scary. I'm going to go back to scripture one more time, and I'm going to read something that probably had the biggest impact on my audience because I saw the most feedback come back from it. And it's Ephesians. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. And this is relating directly to the technology and this that I'm covering, and at least how I'm relating it. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness. Now that to me and to my audience just resonated, because I don't want anybody to be afraid of anything, because none of us have anything to fear.
Oh no, and I think that's a very powerful scripture.
Yes.
One I used to quote often, one I used to pray on, because the truth is, the battle isn't just a scientific battle or, or what we physically see, but there really is a spiritual battle. And, when God talks about principalities in high places and how we need to withstand the wiles of the enemy, and when he talks about Satan being like a roaring lion seeking who he may devour, these are warnings from the Lord saying people are going to do things you're not going to like, and it's not just a physical war, but one that's got to be handled with prayer, one that's got to be handled with being bold for Christ, and one that, you have to fight in the spiritual realm. And I think we have to keep that in mind, because whether or not you see the battle of right versus left, a Democrat versus Republican, but I think the main battle is your nationalist versus globalism. But underneath that, you have your good versus evil. And it does boil down to that. It's we have people fighting the battle for the devil, if you want to call it that way. Maybe
Yes.
not, devil and tongue-in-cheek with these people, we're all walking out, but a spiritual kind of way. And we have people fighting for the good, fighting for God in a spiritual kind of way. But also that we have to keep something like this at the forefront, to remember to put on our armor of God daily. Pray on your armor of God. Wear it on a daily basis. And obviously it's not something physical you just fashion on, but spiritually. So when you go out and you stand against some of the corruption that you see, you have that place as a Christian, and you could say, you know what? I understand some of the atrocities that are going on in the world. I understand the censorship that's happening. But at this same time, I also understand that we serve a mightier God, and he has things under control and going the direction in which he pushes it to go.
Yeah, because ultimately we can be informed. What's going to happen is going to happen. As long as you've lived right by the Lord, everything is just fine. And that's why when we cover these topics, and we can take our criticism and we get our feedback, some positive, some negative, and you have to take that in stride, because ultimately these things won't change. But education is not bad. Sometimes you can be blind by simplicity. And by not having the knowledge of what's going on around you, you have no way to defend yourself. And that's why we bring these topics up. And some of them I cover are atrocious and they're horrible. And I look at myself like, why do I want to bring this up? Next week, for instance, I have a child sex trafficking article, which is so difficult as a father to bring up. It's literally, as you're covering it, you want to break down into tears when you read what's happening.
But you just have to remember, if that happened to your child, you would want an advocate.
You need somebody out there, because people have to be aware, because they try to tuck some of this away and they try to diminish it as if it's not. They don't want to let you know that how many demons are out there, and they're everywhere. And technology in my world is raising the awareness of it, because now the technology is so cheap. It's inexpensive. Anybody can get a cell phone. Anybody can get a webcam. Anybody can get a camera. Anybody can develop a payment system.
Phone. Remember the Obama phones?
Yeah. And that's where thank you for knocking me out. She knew I was getting too serious there. But you have to, and that's what we all have to be aware. Like, we covered everything from quantum computers, which we're not going to do here because that would take at least a 3 to 4 hour segment, and we still probably all be confused.
Yeah, by the end.
But just know there's certain things you shouldn't unlock, and that's my concern with quantum computers. How much is quantum computers and supercomputers and CERN and all these guys, what are they trying to unlock? What is the race to unlock when God has all the wisdom that we will ever need? And he wrote it into a book for us to follow, but yet we're never satisfied with that book. We got to continue to go outside. We got to continue these, not you and I, But the outside forces, these globalist forces, will do anything they can to make sure that that book is the smallest portion of your life possible. Because that is their agenda. Because if that book exists, they don't.
No, and that's the other part we have to keep at the forefront is it's really a battle of your globalist versus your Christian versus your nationalist. And that's kind of, you know, they kicked God out of the school. They kicked prayer out of the school in the 1963, I believe. And when that happened, crime blew up. It blew up. And, you know, same when the Bibles were removed from school. So we've just completely eliminated God here in America. He's already pretty much been eliminated in other countries. But then when you think of the Middle East and countries where, you know, Palestine or, you know, what's going on with Palestinians and Israel and all the different things. But if you think of the religion, you know, Muslim religion, Islamic religion, it's not the same God that we have. You have your Buddhists, your Muslims, but there's so much tension and chaos over who God is in every country, your Middle East countries, your Asian countries, your European countries. And here in America, we've had that central focus for the most part on Christ, on Jesus Christ, on Christianity. And it seems now that we're getting more of the chaos from around coming in, and we've got a really watered down message. And Christianity, again, is all across the world, and that's the beauty of it, is you can serve God wherever you are. Now, you get persecuted for serving Christ in the Middle East and 55 and China and 55 of the predominantly Muslim countries. This is a fact, a statistic, but 55 of predominant Muslim countries persecute Christians. This is according to the government's own article, the CPC, countries of particular concerns. I'm not stating this as a speculation. I'm stating it as a fact. I cannot water down a fact, but this is a fact from the CPC list by the government that monitors. They monitor persecution of all religions. That is what this list does. And you know, but in the end, we're all going to have to answer to God, and that's kind of the conclusion of it. But there is so much tension, and I think, you know, at times we just need to focus on Jesus. We need to focus on what He's given us here to do. And, you know, we may have hard times ahead or good times ahead. We just don't know. But in the end, you know, I think we're coming up on, well, some troubling times. What about you?
Oh, we definitely are. And it's hard because in a world of 0 and 1s, and that's kind of the world I live, because 0 and 1's, you know, binary code of, you know, your basic computers. And quantum computers are just more accelerated versions of 0 and 1. They're little qubits that can be zeros and ones. And when you go into that, you take the brains behind quantum physics. You take Albert Einstein, and Albert Einstein even quoted at one point in time that God doesn't roll the dice. And what he meant by that is there's a pattern in everything he's created. He has reasons for everything he created, because he was being debated against the fact if these two, and we're going to put it again, super, for all you physicists out there, I'm going to get this completely not to your level, and I'm not going to try to, but basically if let's say there's a positive and a negative atom, and those two existed, well, technically in the quantum world, no matter where that other atom is, it's still charging an opposite atom somewhere else. Well, Einstein said, no, come on, it's impossible. No matter what, they're still linked somehow, and we're still linked to God at all times. And that we can't forget, because in the computer world, they just assume dismantle all of that as quick as they have. I wouldn't be surprised soon if you're going to see a program that's going to be run to uncode the Bible, because they've already tried it a few times. But I wouldn't doubt if they don't create something, because these algorithms that are being created are basically, if you think about it in its most purest purpose, when has one of these algorithms be created to just simply say, hey, I want to make sure you wake up a little bit better this morning. Hey, I want to make sure you have a smile on your face. Hey, I want to make sure when you go to work, you're a little bit less stressed. Here's the algorithm
it's more
we
about
created.
What do you want to buy? We're gonna sell you this product based
Absolutely.
off of your looks or this or that.
What do you want? What do you need? What do you want? What do you need?
Yeah.
And that's how all these were designed from in the beginning. The first, the most basic principle was if I knew Lisa wanted a pair of shoes, and I think we've talked about this before, and I happen to analyze every picture that Lisa looks at, and she happens to look at red pictures more. Well, when I want to go and market a shoe to her, I now know she probably likes red, so I'm going to go ahead and apply red to a shoe. And if that fails, Then I'm going to find out, I'm going to go back through her searches, and I'm going to see, oh man, she looked up this one designer like 5 times and all the other ones 2 times. So now I'm going to go get a shoe from that designer in a red design, and I'm going to show it to her again. If that doesn't work, the algorithms come back and say, okay, one more time. Maybe in the background of the shoe, I didn't realize that Lisa loves kids. And so if I put kids in the background of the red shoe from this one designer, boom, Lisa bought the shoe. I got her.
Well, that's it. Now you have to go buy me a Gucci red shoe.
Oh my goodness, that's never.
You brought it up and you done sold me. Now you gotta spit out the cash and go get me the shoe.
See, my algorithms worked.
I'll take a Gucci, but if we need a little cheaper shoe.
And we have fun with these.
Maybe I'll go with Roxy, but no, Gucci if you're buying, I'll take it.
And that is the mentality you have to take with these findings.
I'm not gonna let him live that down, by the way.
Ever,
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it.
Why did I have to bring up shoes? I should have never brought up shoes, but as an example, that's when they got you. Now she got me, so we're even. But that's how it all started. It started with simple clicks on a computer screen. And so when you always say, watch what you do, watch what you click on. If there's some other way to get it and you don't have to click on those ads, they won't be able to track you. They won't, because if they don't have data on you, they can't build algorithms for you. They can't predict your voting methods going back to the midterm elections if you don't let them know what's going on. You know what happened in the old days of going and just watching somebody debate? Turning on the TV and seeing them debate. And that's what you base your decisions on. Now we're going to allow social media and the Facebooks of the world to determine election results.
But here's the other thing that Google and, all the big tech guys are attempting to do. What they want to do is in combat of fake news. No, it's really not fake news that they're targeting, because that term is so general. It's not like the onion. Let's get rid of the satirical onion. No, it is to combat those in opposition to the globalists, those in opposition to the New World Order, those who are more Christian conservative, combat them, because those are who they have officially labeled as fake news. And this has been proven because of what they've done on the Google search engines. Your liberals go straight to the top. Your more conservative site, like a Fox News, like a Breitbart, like Drudge Report, get pushed to the bottom. They're not even allowed, even if they have higher clicks than CNN. CNN, by the way, any news article you search CNN, Washington Post, are always on the top.
Yes.
I encourage you guys, plug in some news articles. You'll see CNN, MSNBC, CBS, and Washington Post, and maybe even New York Times as some of those top ones. But no, Fox News is pushed to the bottom, Breitbart pushed to the bottom, and this is an attack done on purpose. But what they want to do going forward is these tech giants want to take that fake news handle, shadow ban them where you can pull them up by name, but that's it, and only allow a one-sided view. For example, if you Google going forward, is Donald Trump a racist? You Google that, right? Well, your answer could be a CNN answer only portraying well, that's to be determined. He is somewhat racist because he made these comments, blah, blah, blah. But there is no rebuttal for that. You don't get the other side. They give you a one-side response. And they have said this on, and I forgot who it was, but there was one of the tech, I think it was the tech giant of Google, the head of Google.
Yeah, it was it wasn't Sergey who said it. It wasn't Sergey.
One of them. But they were up there and they said for those answers, one response. No herbal response. If you plug in a medical question, you'll get, maybe just a WebMD, one answer. Forget your answers from naturopaths, from herb people. So now, all that information that you used to search and look on the internet for, I don't even want to call it a Google search because I can't stand some of that anymore. But all that information that you used to be freely available to you, gone. Now you have one answer. That's a complete propaganda state. And that is a very bad place to be and completely brainwashing.
It is. And everybody will look at us and the argument I get, but they're a business and they can run their business how they determine yes and no. They're governed what should be by the FCC because they're a communication network, and a communication network can't technically do that, right? Wait, is our FCC working or not working right now? It's hard to say, but
is that even a comment?
Yeah,
Can I comment on that one?
It's a tough one because if you're broadcasting, technically you should allow both rights. And I'm not saying no to a democratic message in no way, shape, or form. Do I think Democrats should have their messages muted? No, that's not who I am. That's not what I stand for. I'm a nationalist. Everybody has the right to free speech unless it is incendiary. And we have a visitor who just decided he wants to talk about politics. Yes. There's Mr. Diesel.
For those of you listening in, he's my baby dog. Say hi, Badee.
The dog came in and decided this broadcast is almost over and it's time because I'm hungry. But nonetheless, I don't believe that either Democrats nor Republicans should have their voice silenced. I don't believe that anarchy should ever be called for. The harm of someone should ever be called for. That should always be censored. Absolutely, it needs to be. But it is free speech. And now for those of you, because we broadcast this on our YouTube channel, the dog just waved goodbye. But for those of you on the radio, just know that he waved to all of you. And in closing here, because I think we're getting towards the end, so.
Oh, we got a little time yet.
A little bit. So what's your take? Because again, I'm right down the middle. Everybody deserves the right to free speech.
I agree.
Democrat, Republican.
I think if you're going to have free speech, you're going to have free speech.
Yep.
I'm not going to censor someone because they don't like my views. I'm not going to censor someone over on the other side because I don't like their views. They have a right.
Absolutely.
And I have a right. And that's the way that I think the internet should be. Now, if you're calling violence for someone, if you're saying to hurt someone or, something of that level, then you've crossed a line. But, and then that should be dealt with by the police because that is what they do and that is who they are.
Yep.
Yeah. And, but at that time, you're welcome to say, hey, I like Trump or I don't like Trump. You're welcome to say, I am a Republican or I am a Democrat. Or you're welcome to say, I love guns or I don't love guns. Obviously, I'm a staunch supporter of the NRA. I love the NRA, and I am a gun toter Christian, as everyone else out there. But obviously, I believe in self-defense and these kinds of things and just the right to do what you want to do. But there are others out there who don't believe you should own a gun at all. Mm-hmm. And they have a right to that view. So if we live in a free country, we live in a free country, and that is the way it is. And we have to understand not everybody's going to agree, which is why I think, hey, Republicans in general have accepted the election results. We accepted Obama, even though many of us didn't like Obama. He was the president at the time. And now, unfortunately, we're not seeing the same on the Democratic side. So
no, we're not. And this is where we have to be aware. We have to be aware about what the future impacts are going to be. We got to worry about how technology is going to affect it. The press is going to affect it. Broadcast is going to affect it. Hopefully, it just resides within that realm and the debate stays there. I don't know at this point, based on everything we're seeing in the news and articles and all the ratcheting up, how bad it's going to get. But nonetheless, I just, for all of us to stay aware, keep our peace.
Absolutely.
Remember who's most important in life, and a lot of this is background noise. It's background noise you have to be aware of, but nonetheless noise, and never let it distract you from the much more important goal in life, and that's
Well, share your website information again for those of you who are listening in. If you want to check them out, you can subscribe to it.
Yeah, you can go to my YouTube channel again at Justice Knight, JUSTUSKNIGHT. I also have a website, so you can go www.justiceknight.com.
Yes, and I also have a website. I encourage you guys, go to my website, lisahaven.news. Plug in your email there, because this is the only way, if anything happens on YouTube, because you never know.
Never know.
But this is the way I can keep in contact with you via newsletters. I don't send out many, maybe one a month is kind of for now, but if something happens, those will increase over time, but not excessively. But you can go to lisahaven.news to check that out. So make sure you go there and plug in that email so I at least can keep in contact with you guys. Well, I just want to say thanks again for tuning into our channel here. I truly appreciate it. And this is Justice Knight and Lisa Haven signing out.